Where can you legally live in a tiny house? Imagine downsizing your life to something you can literally carry on your back, or at least tow behind your car, and living in a space that's smaller than some city apartments. Sounds liberating, right? Tiny houses aren't just a trend. They're a movement fueled by minimalism, affordability, and freedom. But here's the catch. You can't just park one anywhere and call it home. Zoning laws, building codes, and local ordinances can turn your tiny dream into a legal nightmare faster than you can say, tiny house, big problems. Today, we're diving into where you can actually live legally in a tiny house and what you need to know if you want to downsize without spending a fortune on fines or evictions. Rural areas and private land. One of the most straightforward options for living legally in a tiny house is rural land that you either own or rent. Many counties and small towns have fewer zoning restrictions, meaning you can place a tiny home on your property without running into building code headaches. Imagine owning a plot in the countryside with wide-open skies, chickens clucking nearby, and your tiny home sitting peacefully next to a creek. Sounds idyllic, right? The challenge here is infrastructure. You'll need to think about water, electricity, and septic systems, which can be costly or require permits. But once you're set up, you can enjoy incredible freedom, escape crowded city living, and live a minimalist lifestyle without anyone telling you to move along. Tiny house communities. If you're not into the isolation of rural life, tiny house communities are popping up across the world. These are purpose-built neighborhoods designed specifically for tiny living, offering shared amenities, strict adherence to building codes, and a supportive community of like-minded people. Living here solves the "where can I legally park" problem while still giving you the tiny life experience. Some communities even allow mobile tiny houses, while others require permanent foundations. Think of it as co-living for the minimalist generation. You get social interaction, safety, and legal security. But it's not just about putting a tiny house anywhere. It's about being part of a system that actually accepts it. RV parks and mobile home parks. Another legal route is RV parks and mobile home parks. Many tiny houses are built on trailers, making them technically recreational vehicles, which means you can often live in them within parks zoned for RVs. It's a convenient solution for people who want mobility or plan to travel. But there are limits. You may face restrictions on how long you can stay, utility hookups, or rules about building additions like decks. Still, this is one of the most accessible ways to live legally without purchasing property or fighting zoning boards. Imagine rolling into a park, plugging in your solar panels, and enjoying full-time tiny living without worrying about tickets or code violations. Urban zoning exceptions and ADUs. Cities are trickier because most urban areas have strict zoning codes that don't traditionally allow tiny houses as primary residences. But there's a growing trend of accessory dwelling units, ADUs, and micro-apartments. Some cities have revised their zoning to allow small homes in backyards or as additional units on existing properties. This is a golden opportunity if you want the convenience of city living while embracing a minimalist lifestyle. The challenge is navigating permits, inspections, and fees. But the payoff is huge. You can live tiny in the heart of a city, close to work, restaurants, and culture without breaking the law. International options. If you're willing to take your tiny house global, some countries are more permissive than others. For example, parts of New Zealand, Australia, and Canada allow tiny homes on rural or semi-rural land with relatively simple permits. Europe has some innovative tiny living solutions too, particularly in Scandinavia, where small, energy-efficient homes are celebrated. The challenge is understanding local building codes, language barriers, and taxes. But for adventurous tiny house enthusiasts, international options open up a world of possibilities. Imagine waking up in a tiny home overlooking fjords or vineyards, living your minimalist dream with legal peace of mind. Overcoming legal challenges. Living in a tiny house legally often requires research, patience, and creativity. You may need to negotiate with city planners, apply for variances, or join tiny house associations to find resources. Some people even turn their tiny house into a legal guest house or combine it with a commercial property to satisfy codes. The key takeaway is that tiny house living isn't just about the physical space. It's about understanding the legal landscape, finding solutions that fit your lifestyle and being proactive rather than reactive. Co-living spaces and shared properties. Some urban and suburban areas now offer co-living arrangements where tiny house dwellers share land, utilities, or even community spaces. This approach blends minimalism with social interaction, creating a legal and practical solution for city living. Imagine having your own tiny house tucked into a backyard while sharing gardens, laundry facilities, or communal kitchens with neighbors who are equally passionate about downsizing. The challenge is compatibility and rules. Many co-living spaces require adherence to community guidelines, which can feel restrictive. But the benefit is access to land and city amenities that would otherwise be impossible to afford. Farmstays and agricultural zoning. Some rural regions allow tiny homes on farmland or agricultural land, often under farmstay or agritourism zoning rules. This opens doors for tiny homeowners who want legal residence on property that isn't traditional residential land. Picture a tiny house nestled next to orchards or pastures, waking up to roosters instead of traffic noise. Of course, there may be limitations, such as restrictions on permanent hookups or how many months per year you can live there. But with the right permits, you can enjoy legal, scenic, and peaceful living. Plus, it can be an opportunity to integrate your tiny lifestyle with small-scale farming or homesteading. Eco-villages and intentional communities. Across the globe, eco-villages and intentional communities are embracing tiny homes as part of sustainable living initiatives. These communities often have legal frameworks to accommodate small structures while promoting shared resources, renewable energy, and communal governance. Imagine a tiny house surrounded by solar panels, community gardens, and neighbors who are equally committed to minimalism and low environmental impact. The downside is participation in communal responsibilities and rules, but the upside is living legally in a supportive environment designed for tiny houses, a solution that combines freedom, sustainability, and security. So, where can you legally live in a tiny house? Rural land, tiny house communities, RV parks, urban ADUs, and even select international locations all offer legal paths, but only if you plan carefully, follow local laws, and think creatively. Tiny living isn't just about downsizing, it's about freedom, flexibility, and smarter, more intentional living. If this guide helped you navigate the tiny house maze, like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into minimalist and alternative living, and comment below. Would you trade your big home for a tiny life? Or is the idea too cramped for comfort? Too cramped